Vladimir Putin thought he had the perfect plan. After his first failed attempt to conquer Ukraine in 1 week collapsed, he came up with a new strategy. If Russia couldn't win quickly, it would win slowly. He would grind Ukraine down with endless waves of soldiers and missiles until the country broke. All he needed was time. But time, it turns out, has become his greatest enemy. 3 years later, that plan has completely fallen apart. Russia has bled soldiers, weapons, and money, yet gained almost nothing in return. The war that was supposed to make Putin look powerful has turned into the greatest humiliation of his career. It's tearing Russia apart from within. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Putin expected the world to watch him win in days. Instead, he's now fighting a war he can't control. John Foreman, former UK defence attaché to Moscow and Kyiv, summed it up bluntly. Russia has experienced a strategic catastrophe by invading Ukraine. Foreman says Putin's main failure is simple. He hasn't taken nearly as much land as he promised. In 2025, Russia's military progress has been painfully small. In January, the UK Ministry of Defence estimated Russia captured just 126 square miles of Ukrainian territory. By March, that number had fallen to 55. Another organisation, the Institute for the Study of War, recorded similar results. In every case, the trend was the same. Russia was slowing down. Putin had high hopes for his summer offensive. His goal was to seize the vital city of Pokrovsk and create a new buffer zone near the border. He poured thousands of soldiers into battle, but the result was another failure. Russian troops gained only scraps of land, nothing close to what Putin had promised his people. By September, reports showed Russia had captured just 100 square miles that month. That's only 0.04% of Ukraine's total area. The human cost has been even worse. Russia's total casualties have now passed 1 million, with 281,000 soldiers lost in 2025 alone. Entire divisions have been wiped out. Yet, even as his army bleeds, Putin refuses to stop. Foreman believes Putin's obsession with control is what keeps the war going. Putin's intent remains the same, he says, to bring Ukraine to heel. The problem is, every month the war continues, Russia weakens further. Peace talks have become just another political trick. In August, Putin met US President Donald Trump in Alaska, claiming to discuss an end to the war. But even during that meeting, Russian missiles were hitting Ukrainian cities. European leaders saw through it immediately. Estonia's Prime Minister Kaja Kallas said, Russia has no intention of ending this war anytime soon. The Atlantic Council agrees. It calls Putin's peace efforts a charade, nothing more than a tactic to stall and confuse. But the plan is backfiring. Instead of dividing the West, Putin has united it. The longer he plays this game, the more isolated Russia becomes. After the Alaska meeting, Russian state media called it a triumph. But Western analysts called it what it really was, a complete failure. Putin tried to appear reasonable to Trump, hoping to manipulate him. But he underestimated his former ally. Trump's position has shifted sharply. He now says Ukraine can win back its territory and has even talked about sending Tomahawk missiles to Kyiv, long-range weapons capable of hitting deep inside Russia. That's a dramatic turnaround and proof that Putin's diplomatic game has collapsed. Unable to win on the battlefield or at the negotiation table, Putin has turned to a new weapon, hybrid warfare. Russian drones have crossed into Poland and Germany. Fighter jets have violated Estonian airspace. Spy operations and cyberattacks have been reported across Europe. Putin's goal is to frighten NATO countries into focusing on themselves instead of Ukraine. But once again, his plan is failing. Instead of dividing Europe, he's bringing it closer together. Many NATO nations are now discussing joint military responses to Russian aggression. By trying to intimidate his enemies, Putin has only strengthened them. This shift toward hybrid attacks has also weakened Russia's main war effort. The Kremlin is now stretching its limited military and intelligence resources thin. Putin is trying to fight everyone, Foreman says, and in doing so, he's fighting himself. Meanwhile, Ukraine has launched a counteroffensive that strikes directly at the heart of Russia's economy. Over the summer, Ukrainian drones and missiles targeted Russia's oil refineries and fuel depots. According to The Economist, Ukraine has hit nearly half of Russia's major refineries, taking up to 40% of the country's refining capacity offline. The results have been dramatic. Gasoline shortages are spreading across Russia. Long lines stretch for blocks, and many regions are rationing fuel. Even the Russian military is struggling to keep its vehicles running. Some reports suggest US intelligence is helping Ukraine identify critical energy targets. Whatever the truth, the effect is undeniable. Ukraine's strikes are crippling one of Russia's most important industries. Now, the European Union is considering a bold counterpunch, using Russia's frozen assets to fund Ukraine. The plan could release over $150 billion for Kyiv's defense and rebuilding efforts. It would also remove one of Russia's last economic safety nets. Far from dividing Europe, Putin's actions have pushed it toward historic unity. Inside Russia, everyday life is getting harder. Inflation is rising, sanctions are biting, and Putin's propaganda can no longer hide the truth. The war has drained the economy and the morale of its people. And looming above it all is one unavoidable problem: Vladimir Putin himself. At 73, he's aging fast, yet has no successor. Analysts describe him as a cult of personality leader who has made himself irreplaceable. That's a dangerous setup for a country with nuclear weapons. When he eventually dies or loses control, chaos could follow. Putin seems aware of this, even if he won't admit it. During a meeting with China's President Xi Jinping, he reportedly joked about organ transplants and immortality. Maybe he was joking, or maybe he was revealing his greatest fear: that Russia cannot survive without him. After more than 3 years of bloodshed, Putin's war in Ukraine has become a slow-motion collapse. His army is exhausted, his economy is strangled, and his global influence has crumbled. The very war he launched to make Russia great again is now destroying it from within. For decades, Putin sold himself as the master strategist, a man who always outplayed his enemies. But in Ukraine, he made the ultimate mistake. He overestimated himself and underestimated everyone else. Now, as Ukraine grows stronger and Russia grows weaker, one truth stands clear. Putin didn't just fail to conquer Ukraine. He's losing his own country. History won't remember this war as Russia's triumph. It will remember it as the moment Vladimir Putin's empire began to fall apart.